Good afternoon to everyone. Once again, we are into lab 3, track 1. I'm Sumit, and now we are gonna see one of the very interesting topics. So we have a very experienced and seasonal speaker, Senti Kumar and Sophia with us. Both of them are coming from Cognizant. Senti Kumar is an automation architect, and Sophia is a test manager. They will be taking us again to open source area, right? And they will be taking it with open source Python, the tool called Pyvin Auto, and they will be touching base and explaining us how to do desktop automation using the same. Continuing to the last topic, they will also be talking about how to integrate the same on AWS pipeline for DevOps continuous testing. You can find more about both of them on the link which is present in the slide. Stage is all over to you, Sophia and Senti. If you can hear me, you can share your slides. For the audience, what you can do is you can post all the questions for both of them into the chat, okay? And I'm sure both of them will take a logical periodic pause whenever they find to take that question and comfortably answer you, right? And at end, we will go for all the Q&A to help you understand about more on the topic. Thank you. Stage is all over to you, Sophia and Santi.
Thanks, Sumit. I hope you're
You have to share your
able
slides,
to hear
Sophia.
us.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
Are you around, Santi Kumar? Because I don't see you. I see only Sophia. Hello. Yeah,
Yeah,
I see
I'm
you
there.
now.
Yeah,
Right.
right.
Okay. Great.
Uh,
All the best. Thank you.
thanks, Sumit. Yeah, we'll get started. Good afternoon, good evening, everyone. I hope we are at the end of the sessions for the lab two for the day two basically. So our session is basically on how to automate desktop applications using open source tool called Python with Python Auto. Basically, the programming language that we uh, are going to showcase or hand make you guys make hands you are dirty, or we're going to be on uh, the Python Auto. This is basically for the desktop automation and integrating. At the end, we are just going to integrate with Azure DevOps. That's one of our uh, uh, aim objective as part of this session. And this session is basically for the practitioners or whoever wants to learn new things or whoever is already into a few of the automation that you guys are doing. So let's get started. Probably I'll try to give an introduction on where do we stand right on the current. So we are basically in the digital era that we see a proliferation of intelligent products, transaction channels, and influencers available at the fingertips of a digital customer. This would require consumer-facing companies to deliver highest level of customer experience at speed and scale with higher efficiency. Quality, customer experience, and trust are therefore becoming more important than ever. For this, it has become paramount for enterprises to assure quality across the application lifecycle with better test process, tools, people, governance, and more importantly, in maximize speed. Yeah. So without which, for any project within the QA, so without the test automation, it's not going to be meaningful. So test automation has been the key parameter for the quality engineering teams to improve test efficiency, increase coverage, and deliver products faster to the market. However, as opposed to the traditional test automation approach, where focus was automating the automation regression cases, the current digital paradigm needs an automation first approach where the strategy to expand beyond the horizon into the unit testing, test design, execution, and reporting. So in this lab session, what we are going to basically cover is on the desktop automation. I hope most of us know that we know pretty much more than 5 years or over a period of time. By the time Selenium got in, before that, most of us know there was a tool from HP and then later moved to the micro focus, right? Wherein QTP, from QTP times till now the currently the UFT1, yeah, wherein most of the customers do not want to spend more cost involved on a project by having a seat license or a floating license, and eventually we migrated towards the open source Selenium. And as we know, we have our own limitations. It has its own limitations on pertaining to only the web-based automation. Still, we don't have the desktop automation apart from the COTS-based application and things like that. But there are projects wherein you need to certify both an application wherein web as well as a desktop, wherein you need to rely on a COTS-based product, right? Wherein you need to put a cost involved in it, wherein whatever we are going to showcase today is basically on combining both web as well as on desktop automation. The focus is basically going to be on desktop automation here. So although the demand for desktop app testing is not growing as fast as mobile and web application testing, it's still a crucial day today. The duty of many testers, especially those who work on sophisticated legacy systems in complex enterprise environments. Ignoring desktop automation is simply a luxury that they can't afford. Yeah, there are multiple software available in the market that cannot automate the desktop applications. But if we want an open source tool that can perform desktop automation and integrate the same with various cloud platforms like Azure, the previous sessions also from our one of the colleagues, wherein you could see the Cognizant Experience Lab, right? So we have a few of the customers wherein we have implemented Azure as a platform, wherein this session wherein you're going to show is one of the use cases wherein we have Python with Python Auto, PyTest automation framework integrated into Azure. Yeah. Having said that, this workshop lab session would highlight how QA can create test scripts that can automate desktop applications. Also would provide an insight into integrate of the cloud providers using Azure. Yeah. With this, let's go to the agenda. So we'll be covering the introduction of desktop automation, followed with the different technologies used for desktop automation, and followed by the brief description about the Python Auto, basically an extension on top of the Windows automation framework. And as part of the different technology, we will also cover what are the different tools, open source tools available for the different operating systems. And to make yourself more having hands-on, we are having 3 use cases with Notepad, PowerPoint, and Excel. And finally, how all these are going to be version control, and eventually you can add it as part of when do a continuous testing as part of your cloud provider with Azure DevOps. Next slide, please. So I think pretty much I've covered with about the web automation, mobile, and desktop automation. What is the intent of it? Maybe in the interest of time, let's switch to the next slide. Yeah, why we need desktop automation? Yeah, so as I said, most of the organizations have either you would have gone in for a Tosca Tricentis or a HP UFT1 for their legacy-based products. Typically, for and SAP, I think there is one question with Oracle EBS wherein this is one use case, correct? So what we can say is there are locators, object locators, how you typically go and inspect it, right? So there are object locators wherein you will be able to see what technology it is being built in, correct? So based on which we will be able to see whether a respective class and the object locator is able to fit in or not. Yeah. So this is one example where a Python Auto, the desktop automation intent is wherein where you can make yourself feel comfortable within the Python Auto. We are not just trying to sell it out with Python Auto, or there are other automation frameworks available. what we saw overcome basically is there are other like Winamp driver, Winium driver, and things like that, wherein we had some instability and aspects of it. So finally, for our one of the customers, we were able to subsequently make sure that we are able to put ourselves in a very strong hold in achieving the desired end goal. Yeah. Let's go to the next slide, please. So these are the technologies wherein the desktop applications have been built. As you can see within the Java Spring AWT or SWT within and also Java FX. Predominantly, as you know, that .NET plays a role wherein you will have the window forms or the UWF or WPF based technologies. And within the recent times, most of the Microsoft based applications would end up within this Windows Win32 and basically on other apps as well, right? So as you can see, it is also, we can see also the Oracle forms and the other legacy based things with SAP GUI and Power Builder. So these are the technologies wherein the desktop applications have been built. Let's move on. Just to provide us an insight, what are the different open source automation tools available for testing the desktop applications? Windows, within the Windows base, Pywin Auto is one among them, and apart from which Winamp driver and Winium, which is basically for mobile as well. Here, due to the own challenges and some limitations to it, we had to go for Pywin Auto. Yeah. Apart from which, for the Mac OS supportive tools, you have the UI Vision, Sequely, and Test Architect. So Sequely, as you are aware, it will be based on the image comparison using OCR things. In this case, basically Pywin Auto will try to detect the respective classes built in top of it, and there are many libraries which we'll be covering in the next upcoming slides and hands-on. Okay. So let's get into what is Pywin Auto. So Pywin is basically a set of Python modules to automate the Microsoft Windows graphical user interface. So within Pywin Auto, there is a specific link which we'll be covering in the next slide, which will basically cover the different aspects of what is a wrapper, if you have a UAA controls, or the various patterns associated within the desktop tool, right? Being it some to give few of the examples, right? Starting from an Outlook, if you want to automate your Outlook or an Excel or a PowerPoint or a Notepad or any other desktop-based applications, and if I have to give it more on, there will be an apps which is basically on web, desktop, or hybrid, right? So Outlook, as you know, you could use it as an desktop tool, or you can go to an web and then use it. Similarly, uh, if you have an collaboration tool called Slack or a Teams, you can have it within web or as well as a tool, right? So these are things wherein if you want to simulate the different, if you take an organization where you want to simulate the different personas of people who wants to simulate and automate the different applications and see how a respective operating system behaves, right? Then these are the ways that you would use these tools for basically automate such applications. Yeah. So with this Pywin Auto, you would have a benefit of having automating the different Windows 32 controls with Windows 32 API, being it from the Microsoft Foundation class or VB6 or VCL. Apart from which, you have the Windows Forms, WPF, or the various browsers and store apps as well. So this point very clearly says that if you have a requirement wherein you want to do both a web, a combination of desktop, then you can utilize Python Pywen Auto along with a desktop-based automation. Yeah. However, as you can see, there are some limitations associated to it, wherein we wanted to highlight on. However, it doesn't support the Inter Java AWT or GTK. Yeah. Let's quickly get into this user manual, which Python has to offer. Maybe Sophia, you can put it for the folks who wants to have a look into it, so that you can paste it in the chat, so that whoever wants to basically get to know about Python Auto, they can also look into it later point of time. So basically, in the Python Auto, there are what we are covering it as part of the prerequisites instructions, in terms of what are the prerequisites in order for you to automate the desktop applications. Everything is being covered here, but this is just for you to be aware that the instructions provided here, it may be that you might use a personal laptop or a desktop or an organization provided laptop. The prerequisites that we had provided may be that if you don't have a Python install with the 3.7 version or any other prerequisites, then I would suggest you to do it if you want to do an hands-on along with this.
Senti, sorry to interrupt in between.
Yes, please.
Maybe you or Sophia can have a look on the chat. And also audience, if you have any outstanding question which is really stopping, you can unmute yourself and you can ask. We want it to be a very highly interactive session. So there is a question, Senti. Does it support Oracle EBS form? Okay.
Okay. So as I said, right, definitely one of the desktop automation tools, as you can see very well, right? Hello. I hope you are able to see my screen. Hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay. So as we discussed, right, one of the desktop technologies, being it Oracle Forms. So unless until if you are able to use, is it an Oracle version 12 or EBS? Is it an EBS suites or within an web aspects of it?
Yeah, it is Oracle 12, Oracle
Okay.
Forms 12, Senthil.
Forms 12. Okay. So basically it is a web based. You are using a web or a desktop?
Yeah, it's a desktop Forms web start basically. Yep.
I think to some extent it should support, but based on our prior, we didn't have any specific use case, but we may need to have a pilot being done as such.
Sure, Senthil, fine.
Yeah. Okay, any other questions?
No, so far you can continue, Santi. Thank you.
Okay, sure. Sophia, your screen is not visible.
Is it visible now?
Yeah, it is.
Okay. Senthil, do you want me to?
Yeah, you can take it up, Sophia.
Okay, fine. So this document basically shows the introduction of what Python Auto is and how do we install Python Auto, and the manual installation of it and the general format of it. So this document is kind of very helpful in understanding before you put your hands into trying different things of Python Auto. So probably as per the main instructions of what Python Auto does is like how you automate is. I'll go to the slide and explain you from there. So just share the slide once. So once you, if we need to automate a web application, or a desktop application, what we first need to do is to first run the application and connect to that application, then define the main application window, and in that application there will be multiple control elements, like if it's a notepad, then in a notepad you have different tabs like a file or a insert or help. Such kind of different tabs are there. So inside the tab also there are different options that are available, different sub menus available. So such kind of elements, each of these have these, what do we say, unique identification related to each of these components. So what we do is we identify those components, and how we do with a Selenium, we try to define those things. Either we inspect those using different inspect tools like Spy or inspect tool as such from the Windows SDK we have, and we have another tool called as UI Spy also. So using these tools, and also there's one inbuilt Pywin Auto method called print control identifiers. So with that also we can get all the modules that comes inside that particular application. I'll show it more in detail in the coming slides and coming demo. So with that we are able to initialize the control elements, and then after the control elements have been defined, we mention what kind of user action or we need to perform on the control element, like whether you want to click or you want to set a text, or you want to double click and things like that. So such kind of things we can do after we have defined the control element, and finally we are able to check the results whether it's working or not afterwards. Okay, so these are the different tools as I mentioned for spying an element. So I really like the tool Inspect, which is Microsoft SDK, Windows SDK inbuilt only. So as soon as you have the Windows SDK with you, you can access this Inspect tool from there itself. Then there are additional tools like UI Spy and PY Inspect. So these are different tools that are available. So let's probably move towards one of the test cases of Notepad. So the scenario that I will be showing it or sharing it would be a Notepad. So when we'll open a Notepad and enter a text and apply a basic formatting on it. So let's say I'm applying a font style of Comic Sans, and the type is bold, and the size is 18. Okay, so I believe like whoever wants to do what do we say with what I am doing, hopefully you guys have the Python 3.7. That would be something that I would be suggesting, and Pywin Auto installed in your system. So in order to install Pywin Auto, you just need to, if you have the Python with you, you just need to do a pip install Pywin Auto. Okay, so I have it with me, so that's the reason it's saying it's already satisfied. But you need to have the Pywin Auto installed in this way. So pip is a way of installing different add-ins in the Python language. Okay, so right now we just need Pywin Auto, but going further down the lab experience, I would want to show how we have integrated this with the PyTest also. At that time, I will show you how to import or install PyTest also. So for doing PyTest also, it is the same command, pip install PyTest. Okay, so I would recommend that you keep it handy with you. Okay, so so let's go to the, like right now I've used PyCharm editor here. It works really well for me, and anyone can use any other IDE also. I've used Eclipse also earlier, so that is totally up to your comfort level. So let's move to the, one second, let me show you code.
So whoever wants to have a hands-on, probably if you have any challenges, please feel free to put it in the chat so that we can
Yeah.
make individuals comfortable in sorting it out. Yeah,
Yes.
please carry on.
Yeah. So so like I said, like when I'll share another thing also where we have the basic modules. Okay, Pywin Auto. This is from their website itself. Okay, just a second. Just to give a high level idea of what we'll be doing further, like this is how we basically start. So we need to have an application which will be starting in the beginning of our code. We need to have the application, and in the start we'll be mentioning the exe file of that application which we'll be running. For example, for Notepad, it's kind of integrated with Pywin Auto for demo purpose. But if you need to have an Excel or a, let's say PowerPoint or an Outlook or whichever application you want to open, that particular application's exe should be mentioned inside the start. Like how we do with Selenium, we need to have the Selenium WebDriver path, right? Same way in here, you need to have the exe path here in the start. Okay, after you do an application.start, you need to connect that with your application. Okay, that is a process that is involved. And after you do that, there is let's say in the Notepad you have the file. Okay, file tab, and it is a menu item, let's say. So in the title, after you've connected your application, you will be giving the title, let's say file, the name of the file, like that is file, and class name, and then that is how you define the dialog. Okay, so probably more will be clear if I show it on the IDE. Okay, so this is the Notepad app sample test case. Okay, so first we'll be importing the application using this statement, Pywin Auto application, and importing the application class. After that, in the application start, I've put the notepad.exe. So since I said it's already integrated with Pywin Auto, that's why I don't need to put the full path, full absolute path here. But if it's anything apart from Notepad, we need to put the entire path. And this is the timeout, that time that it will be waiting for that application to show up. Okay, after that I need to define that dialog, or I need to define that application. So once we open a Notepad, let's say I open a Notepad. Okay, once I open the Notepad, you can see that the title is Untitled Notepad. Okay, so the way we kind of connect it to this Notepad is by giving this title. So when we give the title, we need to take the entire title as such and remove the additional special characters, everything from that, and then put the name here. Okay, so we will be putting app.untitled notepad, and we'll be initializing it to a variable main dialog. Then we'll be waiting for it to become visible. Okay, so here I've just written a code, like after we write it, this entire thing, that is what we'll be putting, or the text that we are going to enter here, that will be inside this edit. We are going to edit, right? So in the edit, edit would be the next control that it will be going to, and then we are going to type the keys. So this is the sample text that I want to type, and these are the different attributes that I can, I've placed with respect to this. For example, as the name says, that I want to have the spaces. Okay, by default, if I don't put this thing as true, when the Pywin Auto prints it, this whole statement will be without the spaces. Okay, so with new line, yes, if it's true, I want to have it in the new line, and pause, and with tabs as true. Fine. After this, I want to go to the format tab, okay, and then select the font. Okay, so what I'm doing here, so I'm going to this main dialog that is earlier that what we had created, and then I want to select from this menu. Okay, this is a menu, right? So I want to select from this menu. So I'll be writing it in this format. Okay, there are different ways to do it. This is one of the way. So here, one of the way I'll be showing it to you. After that, we'll be showing another way of approaching also. Okay, so in the font menu, I've written this, so I've selected the font, and then the dialog that comes, like once we select format and font, there's this font window that pops up. So we need to define this window too. So in the font dialog, I'll be writing the first app that I had created, this app, okay, dot font. Okay, that will be the name of this dialog. And in this, we see that these have 3 different combo boxes. So we'll be defining each of these combo boxes. Okay, let's say I want to select Arial font from here. Okay, so I'll be typing the name font type and the combo box 1, and then I want to select Comic Sans from here. So font type dot select Comic Sans MS. Same way, I'll be selecting the font style or the size too using similar code. Okay, and then at the end, I'll be clicking on the OK button of this font window. Okay, so let me just run it to give a brief idea about how it works. So since a pause have been added with this when we were typing the text, a pause of 0.5 was added. That is why it is going in a slow manner. If I remove that pause, it will print very fast. Okay, and once it has been selected, the font is being selected to Comic Sans bold and 18. I can change whatever I want here. Okay, I hope it's clear so far. Senthil, I'm not able to see the chat questions. Are there any questions?
Not so far. We are good.
Okay, okay. Thank you. Thank you for confirming that. Fine. So now let's move a bit further. Okay. Now let's say like we want to move to a PowerPoint, create an automation scenario in PowerPoint. Okay. So in the PowerPoint, I want to go. I'll show the scenario which we will be automating. So first we'll be opening a PowerPoint. Okay. Then probably select the blank presentation. Okay, in the blank presentation, I want to change the layout of this slide, the by default slide that is there. So I'll go to layout, and let's say I want to select title and content. Okay, and I want to insert a picture here. Okay, so I'm going to insert pictures and this device, and then let's say I want to put this sample here. Okay, and then after this is done, I want to again insert another go to home, insert a new slide, and have another picture, and let's say I want to have 3 such slides like that. Okay, and afterwards I want to start a slideshow from the beginning. Okay, so this is the scenario that I would like to automate. Okay, so before I go further to this, I wanted to show something else, that is the inspect tool. Okay, so this is the inspect tool of the Windows SDK. Okay, so as I'll just maximize it a bit. Okay, so you can see that using this tool, we are able to see all the different applications that are currently open on this system. Okay, so we know that this is a PowerPoint that we have opened. Okay, so this is a presentation 1. When I click on here, I can see the different panes that are available. Okay, so let's say I want to click on what do we say, insert tab. Okay, so if I go, okay, one thing that you need to remember is there are different controls here. So if you click on this show highlight rectangle, if you select that, then whichever control you want to go to, okay, let's say insert. Okay, I click on insert. Once I do that, you can see here. 1 second, let me, I think the control shifted. Yeah, so on the right side you can see that corresponding properties of this control element has come. Like the name is insert, okay, the localized control type is tab item, okay, and there are different other properties too that you can see on the screen. The automation ID and different, I mean there are many that are available, but mostly what we use as part of automation is basically the title or the name, okay, and the control type. Mostly things work out with this. If we are not able to find unique properties through that, then we add different things like maybe auto ID or a class name or something. Okay, so in this case, we are able to see that insert, we are able to see all these different properties. Similarly, like if I go to insert and then right now, then we select this and then picture and this device. Okay, and I do that, you are able to see that, like I want to suppose put the path here. Okay, put the path here, and this particular file name has these properties. See, the title is file name and it is of the control type edit control type ID, and localized control type is edit. Okay, so this is one of the ways through which you can spy a particular or inspect a particular web element that you want to click or expand or do whatever with your thing. And another way of doing is, I would show, is using print control identifiers. Okay, so for example, let me just in the notepad itself, I would like to show, I'm just commenting the rest of the things so here in this notepad example, you knew that application notepad is open and it is visible. So there is something called as app dot this one me there is, since this is not a UII, it will have some issues with it. Let me go to the PowerPoint, sorry. Okay, so let me show here, please, just a second. Okay, so here we are doing in the similar way for PowerPoint also. We are having the PowerPoint application, we are importing the application, and here we are defining the exe path of the PowerPoint timeout, and then we are defining the main page, that is the PowerPoint, the title has come, like for example, this was the PowerPoint. Can you see the name? Okay, so it's presentation 1, but that presentation 1 has come only after I had selected the blank presentation. Initially, the name of the PowerPoint was PowerPoint itself. Okay, so the PowerPoint is there, and then we maximize it. And after that, if I want to see what all are the different elements or control IDs that are available in this PowerPoint application, I need to click on main.print control identifiers. This is like inbuilt method of Python Auto. So let me just run this thing. let me close this, otherwise there'll be a clash. So see, the PowerPoint is there. Okay, so I have identified this particular PowerPoint with this title. Okay, I stopped the rest of the code, that is why it is not showing the rest of the things, just for showing what print control identifiers would do. So if you see, PowerPoint has got a lot of different what do we say, modules inside it. If you look in this, you would see that there is a home, new, open, account, feedback, options. All these different modules are there, right? Now let's check here what all are the different things that are available. So if you see here, this has printed all this data. Okay, print control identifier. So you can see that there is a list box called file. Okay, and inside it there is home, new, open, account, and feedback and options. So this particular, all these things that has come inside this particular parent thing. Okay, and then if we, so if next step in this the code that I had written, I wanted to click on the blank presentation, right? So what we generally do is do a control F and let's say blank presentation. Okay, so you can see that this is the property child window. This is the property of this blank presentation. Okay, it has got the title blank presentation and the control type is list item. So that's exactly that I've done. Okay, so here if you see the main, that I had put the print control identifier. After in the main, I go to child window and use the same what do we say, uh, child window properties of the new. From the new only I can go to the blank presentation. See, this is this, if you look here, this is on top of this list. Okay, this blank presentation. So that is the reason I put it here. Okay, so let's just remove this comment and try running it. Okay, so let's see whether it's clicking on the blank presentation or not. So it clicked on the blank presentation. I hope it was visible. Any doubts so far?
Anyone who want to try this example or notepad and the PowerPoint, and if you are basically stuck, you can.
Yeah.
We are here to help, and so that you are comfortable in one of the examples.
Yes. Okay, fine. So once we have the presentation, blank presentation selected, after that, let's say what I did was to insert a slide. Okay, so slide already by default one slide is there, so I want to change the layout. Okay, so I need to first click on the layout and then click on the title and content. So if we look here now, using this inspect tool, okay, I can use either inspect tool or print control identifier, both works fine. Okay, so let's come here to our, let me expand this. Okay. So you can see that there are different options available. So can you see the insert tab? So if I want to highlight this, let me go to the application and show. So you can see that insert is highlighting this insert of the PowerPoint, right? So it's a tab item and the name and the title is insert. Okay, so we have validated it using the inspect tool also. So what we have done now you would have noticed that now the title of this whole PowerPoint is changed to presentation 1 dash PowerPoint. Okay, so that's the reason we need to change now the window title and put it as new main or whichever variable you want to initialize. You can name in whichever way you want, and you have the presentation. After the presentation, this new window has been defined. I want to click on the layout. So what were the properties of it? The title was layout and the control type menu item. So over there you saw it as tab, but sometimes tab doesn't work. So we use menu item. This menu item, I saw it in this print control identifier. So that's the reason I took it here, but you can try with tab also. That should also ideally work. After that, what we do, the control element that I need to do is,
Sophia?
yeah.
Sorry. I'm just asking one question because it is important. So there is a question from the from an audience like if we have a multiple sessions open, right, like Notepad and Excel. So here by knowing the context, what we're gonna automate, we are putting here that particular session in a variable. But let's say if we want maybe at the beginning all the sessions, whatever is open, can this tool capture all those things and then depending upon the automation scenario, we can switch between the sessions from Notepad to Excel or to PPT, things like that.
So there are multiple applications already open, and then you want your code to kind of pick a particular application and start working on.
Yeah. So for example, right now here you have given PPT, right? Like PowerPoint presentation instance session you have given, right? I am just quoting it as a session because you are going to automate that. But what if there is a scenario where we have 4 or 5 things are open, and what we want to know is that all these sessions we can store somewhere maybe at the beginning, and then we can use it depending upon the context, right? So
yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, so basically in my experience, what I have noticed is let's say I have 2 PowerPoint applications that I want to open, or 1 PowerPoint and Excel. So if I need to know what will be the title of it. Okay, let's say if it's a sample 1 and sample 1 PPT, and let's say Excel sample 1 Excel. Okay, I need to know the title of it. Okay, let's say I'm not opening the application from scratch, but I want to access it on the run itself. But I need to know what is the title name that it already, it needs to have, like, see, it's a script, right? So it need to know.
I think I got it. I think Guru Prasad also. I hope you got your answer, Guru Prasad. So maybe we need to take all these things maybe in a list or vector or something.
Yes.
And then depending upon the context we will use. Thank you, Sophia. Yeah.
So to summarize, right, that is doable. Only thing is as you know, right, there will be a H window or unless you know in a typical web automation, you will have the multiple window handles, things like that. So in this case, it will be a H window and there will be session IDs associated to it, which we will be having it on the runtime. So this use case will be pertaining to, say, for example, you have an performance, you want to do a performance test or something wherein you want multiple applications to be open and see how it behaves, right? So such instances, this will be applicable, wherein we also have an use case where we have tried it, Guru Prasad and so that.
Yeah. Yes, Ansel, thank you. Okay.
So we have another question is kindly automate to add slides, maybe within the PowerPoint. Just we can show how to add
the slide.
Add slides, yes.
Yes, that we are going to take the next thing. So let me just okay. So here this is the place till I think presentation we had added, and then this is the code where we are going to click on the layout and change and pick the layout which has a title and content in it. Okay, after that, as I said, we are going to add the pictures. So I'm going to add the picture. Okay, and after adding the picture, I want to take it from a particular, browse it from the device. So I'm going to pass the path of that also over here. So here I've hard coded this value, but definitely we can pass it through a properties file or something and we can make it read here. Okay, this is just for the demo purpose that I've added it here. So after this file has been added, I'll be adding the code for inserting a slide. The inserting the slide is through this. Okay, so if you go to the thing and you click on the insert, okay, there's a new slide option, and let's say I want to select this, so this can be done. So one thing that we need to be aware is like as you would have seen in the top, I had added this main print dot control identifiers, right? So this would define all the modules that are present on that application at that instance. For example, when we had opened the PowerPoint, okay, the first window was where you were asked to select between a blank presentation or any other theme. Okay, so if you will notice here, it will show mainly all the things that are related to that particular instance of that application. Okay, when it won't have all the properties related to layout and this picture or which I was showing here, right? Like these things won't be shown in the print control identifier at that time, because the pages instance or the application instance was the older one. If I want to see the unique properties of let's say picture or this device, I want to click here. So I want to know the properties of this. So what I need to do is, like, once I click on the picture, okay, let's say our script has come to the point where it has clicked on pictures, and then I want to see what are the properties of this. So after this has been done, I would select the main window name, whatever is there, and then I do a print control identifier. Okay, so is that clear? Because that is very important thing to know, which we didn't know earlier. Okay, so when we started off, we'll be first doing a print control identifier on a particular application, thinking that it'll show all the components of that particular application. No, but it's not like that. You need to be on that instance of that application to see the control elements of that particular instance. Okay, so let me run the code till here and then show. Let me close the PowerPoint. There is also a code, like here I'm manually closing the PowerPoint, but there is also a code in Python itself where you can close all the instances of a particular application. Let's say PowerPoint, I just opened and showed it to you. So before beginning of each of this test script, you can write that code or a method that will close all the processes of PowerPoint before you start with this. Okay, let's say your use case is such that you need to clean up everything and before starting off something, so then there is a code to close all the process IDs before you come on this. Okay, so that I'm not showing right now, but there is a way to do that also. So here it's selected blank presentation, layout is selected, and now it'll go to the insert, okay, and select from pictures, put the path here, and click on open. So this path also, as I said, we need not hard code it. We can have from the properties file also, we can read it and insert that value here. So this is the way we have inserted slide. Okay, so again, like in the picture, it is just inserting the another sample picture. Okay. Okay, so same thing, like I've kind of done it, repeated it. There is an error because I closed it before it could end. Okay, so
I hope Sridhar Babu, I hope you answered this question right.
Yeah.
Question is answered.
Okay. So I think we are good of the part where we have where I had shown how to add a slide, insert a slide, and afterwards the rest of the operations also is clear. But as you can see, like, you know, this way of coding is not a very suitable one, because we are kind of repeating the same kind of things which we could have, you know, as a module based. If we create, or method if we create, then we can just call those methods. So that would be the part that I'll take in the next coming few minutes. But I hope I'm clear so far. um, if not, then we can I can address any of the questions. Senthil, hope there are no pending questions.
So far, no questions. I think can pause for a minute. If there are any questions, we can get it addressed, I think. Is that okay, Sumit?
Yeah, I think we can take a maybe 10-second of a logical pause if any from an audience. If you have any outstanding question, if you are struggling, maybe we can break for 5 seconds. If not, please continue, Sophia and Santi.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
so far going great. Yeah, we are getting it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, so this is like one of the sample case.
1 second. Sorry.
Yeah.
There is a question from Shailendra Bode. Any Python auto user manual can be shared. So probably you want to show that link. I think we can put it again. And
Yeah. Somehow I'm not able to access the chat.
yeah, it's okay. I'll try to put it.
Yeah. Okay. The information available in the Python auto, you know, the library or the documentation.
I have shared, Sophia. You can continue. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. I'll do that. What I wanted to say is, like, the knowledge out there is kind of they have written too many things, but you would have to go through it many number of times to understand what exactly is the author trying to, you know, explain. So if you could, you know, if you are following this, what I'm saying, it would be much more easier to kind of get around things. Okay, so going further, as you could see, like, this is like, if we can modularize this code, it would be far better for a user to kind of reuse different methods, like, let's say, inserting a slide, inserting a picture. If that becomes a method, it'll be easier to code in a fewer lines of code, right? Or write the particular test file in fewer lines of code. So in that case only, we have something called as a PyTest framework. So in that PyTest framework, we define, like how we have in Java, like classes and methods. Okay, and that helps us in kind of modularizing our different methods that are reusable methods. We can define it, and we can use the objects to call those methods wherever needed. Okay, so Senthil, should we go with the Excel example and then go to the next?
should be fine. I think probably if there are any questions, we can pause, or else we can move on. I think
Okay. So what I would like to do next is, let's say we have an Excel. Okay. So the next use case that I'm going to take, we have an Excel, and in the Excel I'm going to open already existing one sample file. Okay, let's see this one. Okay, and then I need to probably use the data of this and create a pivot table. Okay, so I'll go to the insert, and there is a pivot chart that is there, and it by default selects the entire range, and then I click on OK. And then we need to select on which all columns I want to see the graph. So let's say I select country, units sold, and this one. So I get a chart like this. Okay, and I need to go after that. I'm done with this, and I'm supposed to save as, give a particular file path, and save the file. Okay, so this is going to be the use case, next use case. So here what I've done is I've used PyTest framework. Okay, we don't have enough time to go too much in depth of it, but I'll just give a overview of it. So it's one of the frameworks supported in Python. Okay, so here what we need to do is like as usual, define the class. Sorry, before that, have the all the imports done like of PyTest and PyWinAuto, the application as usual. After that, let's say I want to define a method called as launch. Okay, so the nomenclature is to have the def and the name of the class, and self is like kind of the what do we say, like a constructor or an instance of that particular class. Okay, so this is the nomenclature that we need to follow. And then what do we say, holding this code inside a try catch or a try except block, so that if at all there are any kind of exception, it is handled in it. So here what we need to do is like we can't have just the app, we need to have self.app. Self.app is like we are defining it inside this particular class. Okay, that is why we need to have the self.app, and same things we need to do. Okay, only thing is it will be initialized or instantiated. Okay, so here we defined an Excel. So once we open an Excel, the title of the Excel is Excel. Okay, and then we are just what do we say, initializing the window. Okay, using the main, and then maximizing it. Okay, so that is what it all is done in the launch. Okay, launch of the Excel. Then I'm just opening a saved file. So what do I do? So I go to an Excel. After that, there is an option as I had shown you, that we need to go to the open and browse, and there is a window that comes up, right? I'll show it once again. So once we open, the title is Excel, and then we go to the open tab, right? Go to the open tab, and then there's a browse, right? So this is what I'm doing here. Open, browse, and then open window is coming. That is why we need to define the properties of it. So the title would be open and the type would be window. See, this is a open title, and the type of control type is window, right? So I'll be writing window. And after that, what I need to do is I need to define this dialog. Okay, it's waiting for it to come, and then I need to define this dialog, the open dialog that has come. And afterwards I need to edit here, I need to put the path here, right? So this path also I've taken either from, you can take it from control identifier or from the inspect tool. This you can just copy paste from there. Okay, and then you need to type the keys or type the path where you want to navigate or get the file from. Okay, and then after that, it says open button that we need to click. It's a split button, that is why I put split button, and then click input. Okay, click input or click should also work fine. Okay, so this is what it will do till here. After that, what we need to do, I had selected the sample file, right? This was the file that I had selected. So once it opens, the name of the thing is sample-excel. So here there are two options. Either you can give the entire title, that is sample-excel, without missing any space or anything, or using a regular expression, you can use these regular expression patterns. Star is for any character before it or after it. So this is a way of kind of saying that in this format, if it comes, means sample should be anything after sample or before sample, it will take. So title having anything before or after sample, it will take. Okay, and then we are just focusing that particular sample file. And then sometimes when you open it, there is a button or a message that says that you want to enable, that enable editing button comes, right? So if it comes, this code is to handle it. Okay, so this particular thing is only to open a saved Excel. So as I said earlier, you can reuse this particular method, and you can kind of write here, like let's say file path. Okay, And as you all know, in the parameters, if you pass this file path, you can use that file path here. And the same function can be used to open different file paths. Okay, so I'm just removing it because I've not added it there for the time being, but that you can, reuse, make it more reusable like that. After that is I want to apply the pivot table. So similar way, what I need to do, I need to go to the insert, right? So that's what I've written, insert, and I need to go to the pivot chart, right? I need to click here. So in the pivot chart, and the control type was split button. And after that, then again I need to click on this pivot chart. So that again is just button, not split button. So all these you can see it from the inspect tool. Okay, and then I entered a enter button. Okay, this is another way of using keyboard or mouse events, like directly if I want to hit an enter. Okay, I can use this particular inbuilt functionality of Python Auto using keyboard, and then here I've used enter, but there are different um, uh, different things that are available on a keyboard, like a tab, enter, backspace. All these functionalities can be written. Okay, you just need to change here. You can visit the Python Autos manual there, and they have a list of tabs or the list of keyboard, that is keyboard controls that are available. Okay, so you can use that. So here I've used enter, and then once we select here, okay, I've clicked on OK. So on the right side, there are different options, right? I want to select any, let's say, country, this thing, and discount blend. So those things I'm selecting using this. Okay. So if I'll show in the inspect tool, just to be clear. Okay, sample. Okay. You can see. There are different options that are available of the pivot in this chart. Okay, so let's say I want to click here. Okay, so you can see on the right side that it is a country checkbox checked group, and this is type of checkbox, right? This checkbox, sorry, it went away, but it's kind of a checkbox, right? So that one, the control type is checkbox, and the title is country. So same way I selected 3 other components from that, and then after that, once we do that, the pivot table is created, and after that I'm saving the file by going to file and then going to save as and browse and give the location. Okay, here also I can give the path which I want. I've saved the path here. Okay, I've defined the path here. This path I can give here. Okay, so here what I've done is, see, sometimes we want to do this test case multiple number of times, and I want to do multiple modifications and save it maybe in the same location. So the name of the file that I'm giving, it needs to be different every time that I'm saving. That is the reason I've used a random variable. Okay, this, and that is done using the random built-in file of Python. So I just use this to create a random number, and I'm just appending it to the sample. Okay, so I'll just run this thing so that it's kind of clear. Okay, so what one more thing before I run it, this is the what do we say, like when we do a Selenium, there is a POM model that we follow, right? Page object model. So for each of the pages, we define the web elements, and we define the different web methods that we need to follow. Same way, this is the that application related different instances and the different methods. Now in a test file, like on the left side, if you can see, there is a test Excel that I have defined. In this, I'm calling this particular class I'm creating the object of it. Okay, so from the app.excel, I'm importing Excel code. Okay, so from the app.excel, I'm calling this particular class Excel code. Okay, and then in this I need to define, so I have the class, and this I'm just using Excel object dot launch. Okay, just calling that function, and it will be going to this method in this class and calling this function. Okay, similarly I have done it for the other scenarios also, opening the save file, pivot table, and saving. Okay, so while running, I'll run this one. Okay, so let me run this. To browse and sample. I need to be clicking on open. So we have this data loaded. Now we need to go to insert, pivot chart, select on the properties that I want, and the graph is created. And after that, I'm saving it, giving it and the path that I want to save. So here when you see there is a number that is getting added to sample, that's just a random number that I've selected. I've given the range of 0 to 22. You can give anything. So it will choose between that number. Okay, so this is what it is doing. Okay, any questions so far?
No, we are good, Sophia.
Okay, so you can see like here it is showing as 4 pass, 2 warnings. Okay, so if we want to export this thing to an Excel, we want to share the test report with our stakeholders, we can export this thing to the results to Excel. Okay, there is a method, there is a built-in library called as OpenPyXL in Python that we can import it, and we can store these test results over there too. Okay, that I have not done it, I have not done it in this sample project, but we have done it in our projects earlier. Senthil, should we move to the PyTest that Azure?
Yeah, yes, please. I think apart from which, if on top of it, like Excel-based report, if you want to have it as an HTML, typically how we have extend report or HTML-based report, that is something that is doable as well. And Sophia, I think there is a question from Jyotisha on, can you share the Git link for this project? Okay, I think we'll be covering the end part of the lab with the integration with Azure. I think there we can post it.
Yeah.
Jyoti.
So since we are running short of time, I'll show like so this particular project, what we have, that is right now on our systems, right? So if you want to integrate it with Azure, okay, we had the use case where we had to integrate it with Azure. So what we did was to import, we had put that thing in the Git, and then imported it here. Okay, so after the import was done, we created a pipeline so that once these test cases are executed, we can see a report which is understandable by the stakeholders. Okay, so this is the framework that I was showing you, the sample framework, and this is the pipeline. Okay, in the pipeline, how we did was this is one sample pipeline that I had created. Go to the edit. So here what we have done is in the initial setup, we have set the project directory to where our project would be. Okay, and then doing pip install of the basic modules like Pywin Auto, PyTest, and PyTest Azure pipeline. We do that so that it's kind of the results are integrated with the Azure pipeline. Okay, that this is a module to do that. So we need to pip install this too. Okay, so this is one of the command line that we need to add in the pipeline, and after this we do a run PowerPoint. Okay, I have taken only the use case of PowerPoint. So in that we again set the project directory and traverse to the test file which we need to run. Okay, so first we need to go to the test folder, and this is the line which we need to do or which we need to type for running this particular application. Okay, so this we'll write. Okay, and if you have an agent installed in your system, okay, that agent will be shown. Okay, I'm assuming that you're aware of that. So if a running agent is there on your system and you trigger this pipeline, I had done that. So after it is triggered, we have like show you one of the sample cases that was done by me. Okay, so after it is triggered, we have this agent job. Okay, so in this you can see the different steps that we had done. Okay, like the initial setup, what was done, and then there was a run PowerPoint that was run. Okay, it did the same scenarios that I showed it to you a few minutes back, and then at the end we have this test run. Okay, so when we go here, we get a report like this. Okay, which we can share it with the stakeholders and can get the test result. And here what we see is for each of the method how much duration it took and what is the machine name where it was triggered, and if at all something failed, so any particular method has failed, that error message we can get it here. Okay, so this function wise or method wise bifurcation we can only get because it is integrated as a PyTest framework. Normal way, like in the initial way that I had shown it to you guys, with that even if you have it in the repo, it won't be able to show this result. So that is the reason we converted the entire thing into a PyTest framework so that it can be read by the Azure pipeline and the result could be shown like this. So yeah, Senthil, I think I am.
Yeah, probably in terms of the Azure integration, typically a few of you like from the organization standpoint, you may be having an access to dev.azure. Otherwise, if you don't have an access from the Azure, right, you can feel free to go to dev.azure.com and you will get a 1 month or 1 year basic access to the Azure. Within you can have hands-on and then get access to the certain creation of GitHub or import a repository, whatever. Sophia, you want to share your screen? Maybe you can.
Yeah, just a second. Let me just.
Yeah.
Just a second. Yeah. Which one you want me to?
Go to the DevOps, dev.azure.com.
Okay.
And there is a question. I think the GitHub of the project, probably we need to put it in the chat.
Okay.
Just go to the repos.
Okay, repos. Okay. Yeah.
Just you can click on the Pywin Auto project and then maybe you can take the URL.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. That I'll share.
Yeah.
Share. Yeah.
Someone can fork it, I think.
Yeah. Is not able to put it in the one. There is some problem. How do I share? Can I send it to you, Senthil?
Yeah, should be fine.
I'll share it. Any other question in the meantime?
Probably we'll pause it for some time.
Yeah.
I think overall we try to cover the basic aspects of it, and then also on showing the different use cases, one from Notepad, one from PowerPoint, and finally an Excel-based use case wherein a sample report had been taken and a pivot is being a pivot example has been shown, right? And on top of it, as we know that we have different frameworks, typically web automation framework, wherein you may have the page object model, wherein we wanted to showcase for the modularity aspects of it, how the different methods have been called, and then for reusability aspects of it, we wanted to show that. And finally, not but not the least, most of the projects will have a continuous integration and continuous testing mechanism. We wanted to showcase the integration with Azure DevOps. So any questions? Open for questions. Probably we'll have more. We have some.
I'm just checking. Yeah, I'm just checking, Senti. Okay, you will be sharing the links, right, for project.
Right.
Shreetar and Jyoti are asking. Okay. So audience, maybe you first, if you have any outstanding question for Sophia and Senti, please go on.
I've shared the link to you, Senthil. Can you share
Yeah,
it?
I'll put it.
Right. Any question from audience? I have some couple of questions, but I'm just holding. I want if there is any question from the audience to go first. Yeah.
Okay.
We still have 5 minutes more.
Yeah.
Okay. If no question, then can I take an opportunity to ask question, Sophia, Senti?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Right. So I mean, first question, which was there from the first minute itself. Why only Pivin Auto? What was your thought process behind choosing this? And definitely you must have done a lot of experiment with different tools. So if you can tell why only this tool, and then the follow-up question would be, what are the challenges and maybe what are the things which you want to share with all of us, which will help us when we will be using this kind of a tools and framework for particularly for desktop automation. Yeah. You're on mute, Sophia and Senti.
Sophia, you want to go for?
Yeah. So we had a couple of tools that we were kind of doing a POC before we started with this. One of the advantages of this tool is it's open source, so we don't have to pay anything for it. Another thing is within the open source tools like our Pivot Auto and Vinium, and I think there was another one also that we tried. But with Vinium, what we saw was it was not so stable. While automating a scenario, we saw that sometimes it used to work, sometimes the controls didn't work properly. But as compared to that, Pivot Auto was more stable, and it was able to achieve most of the scenarios that we wanted to automate. Plus, the added advantage was like it was something that was very in the Python language, right? So having a Python background, and it was like kind of an added advantage. And we can use it not just for desktop. We had few scenarios where we had to go to web applications and automate or validate few scenarios in Selenium, in web also. So this was a tool that could do both. Okay. And plus in the Azure, when we wanted to go to the Azure platform, in that also we could integrate it using PyTest framework. So it helped us in all those areas. So that is the reason we took it. But coming to the next question that you had was, what are the challenges that we faced? So challenges, one that I could say is like something related to, let's say if it's an Excel, and in the Excel there is something that you want to type on particular cell, particular row, column, something that you want to do, very specific. So what I've seen in such kind of few scenarios, I've seen that it is little bit not that stable, like sometimes it would work, sometimes not work. But definitely where the control elements are specifically very much clear using print control identifiers or inspect tool, most of those scenarios it used to work without much issues.
You are contradicting to your earlier statement of it is stable, right?
Yeah, it is stable, but there are drawbacks. Such kind of few things for which what I've seen is like in the inspect tool, some of those properties won't be shown. Okay, so such kind of elements where the properties are not specifically shown in the inspect tool, such kind of things it was not able to, not able to automate those kind of particular scenarios.
And how was the learning curve? Like if someone is a newbie, he wants to, start and he don't have any Python background. In terms of configuration, because I was looking from an audience perspective. I have not done any configuration here, but I just wanted to understand how fast it is as a rampage time to be able to up and at least start some kind of a delivery out of this desktop automation.
I think is pretty fast, because as you would have seen, like there are inbuilt things like print control identifiers and spy tools which help you to navigate and spy these control elements. And there are only some basic rules that we need to follow. If we understand those rules with the help of these inspect tools, it's very much easy to kind of automate desktop scenarios.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you want to add anything, Santi? I think you want to say something.
I hope I'm audible.
Yeah, you are audible.
Okay. So I think Sophia pretty much covered. So in terms of the learning curve, as you know, right, most of the we are kind of in an era where we are moving towards digital, and digital transformation is beyond. And way back, in the most of the data scientists rely on Python, because you have more have in terms of the prediction and other aspects of it. So in terms of the packages inbuilt and the modules that you get it, you will be able to utilize it for a combination of scenarios.
I understand. I think you are trying to also quote indirectly. You have more configuration options there if you want to customize something, right? Pretty much clear. I think there is some. I mean, I see Jyoti raising hand. Jyoti, you have any question? I see you.
Yes, I have also typed my query. I was trying to access the link which Senthilest provided. I cannot access this link and it is asking for credentials. So is this protected link?
Or maybe public GitHub?
I can maybe share the GitHub direct link, not GitHub.
That's
yes.
better.
Yeah, I'll do that. Give me a second.
Okay.
Right. So meanwhile, can I take one more question? If again there is any question from audience, please go on. You can unmute yourself. We still have 2-3 more minutes to go.
Hey, out of curiosity, does this framework, like, does this tool supports BDD?
Wow, that was also one of my questions, Jyoti. Thanks for bringing it. Yeah, Sophia, I think Jyoti is trying to ask, will it support behavior-driven development, BDD?
I have not tried that, but yeah,
Okay.
I have not tried that. We'll look into it maybe, and we'll reply to you, Jyoti, later.
Okay. So it does supports only TDD, right now, correct?
Yeah, that's what I have used so far. BDD I have not used, feature file and all I have not used.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, great. So if there is no question, I have still one more question to go. So probably Sophia or Santi, any one of you can take it. When you was mentioning about Azure DevOps pipeline, right? Like you did integration into to that pipelines and things like that. So when it comes to your, like continuous integration pipeline, right? After deployment, you want to test something, you want to provide the result. So do we have any plugin, any other library which are supported with this tool, or then, or we need to rely completely on Azure side? Right? So I see when there was a question, right? A record and playback, right? So I see there is another, utility available for this particular tools which can do record and playback. So I'm curious to understand, because it is Python and open source, do we have some more supported packages which will help us in kind of a continuous reporting and continuous feedback? Have you tried it out?
Yeah, let me take
Yeah.
this question.
Yeah.
So yes, for your answer, yes, we have tried based on the ad hoc requirement for so and so customers or the organizations wherein we are intended to do, right? So typically, in terms of continuous integration, it is not, the end goal is not just to execute it within the local machine that the automation engineer is intended to do, right? So it will be a team of 20, 30 members or 100 members, or the whomsoever want to trigger it at any given point of time. They do, when a build gets triggered, you do it, right? So since I think Sophia touched upon on running on an agent, right? So the agent comes with a cloud-based agent that Azure itself provides you a set of Windows-based machines and things like that. Or say I have a team of 30 folks who have the different configuration of OS, and I want to try whether all my automation framework works in the different uh, operating systems of the different end use engineers, then I can have an agent within it which will try to execute it in the respective agent as a
Okay.
physical device, and provides you the cluster of results. Whatever we showed the end results, it will show you the host name of each of the execution happen. End of the day, you will know out of say 100 tests are there, 100
Okay.
tests which got executed in 10 different automation engineers, you will be able to get an average of how the pass percentage, fail percentage is overall
Okay.
holistically.
Right. I think, yeah, you have given more insight, Santi. But I think I was also trying to understand, like, if we leave for a time being Azure aside, right?
Yeah.
And we just talk about plain desktop automation using this tool, and then I want to have kind of Jenkins I am using as a continuous testing, and then I'm configuring and I'm providing the reports, right? So
Yes.
here I'm trying to understand that, do I need to rely on some other open source plugin, or already this tool is having all those packages
Yes.
integrated and supported? Yeah.
You may have to have some pip being installed, as you know, like Python runs on top of Node.js, right? So all
Yeah.
the installation, whatever we see, if we go into the folders, npm, and then the modules, you will have all the packages being added as part of it.
Okay.
Say I may have a project wherein I may have a certain packages available. So I have a prerequisite batch file which has the pip being installed with so and so package for a particular project. So I think we can have all these in place for us to provide it to the respective stakeholders. And to answer a question, it can be also, you can have it within the Jenkins, as this is just a way forward in the digital platform. Cloud is one of
Yeah.
the options that we wanted to try it, but since it's a Jenkins batch mode wherein you can have the command options, you can still try it out as well.
Definitely, definitely. Yeah. So yeah, thank you. I think if we have again any outstanding question because of the time, maybe we will take it offline. Audience will reach out to you. So let me take an opportunity to thank you both of you once again for this wonderful session and being with us with ATA. Audience, please go back and share the feedback for both of them. I'm sure like I have learned a lot, and same with all of us. So once again, thank you.